Town of Prescott Valley, January 6th Work Study 2022. Call to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Hepperly?
Here.
Councilmember Dickinson?
Here.
Councilmember Kinzinger?
Present.
Councilmember Schumacher?
Present.
Councilmember Packard?
Present.
Vice Mayor Hunt?
Present.
Mayor Plaguda?
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Jumping right in, item 2A, Economic Development Quarterly Report. Cutter Chamberlain. Oh, ladies first. I'm sorry.
Actually, I jumped on the computer before he did. So,
Mayor, Council, thank you for having me this evening. Obviously, I send a monthly report, so that kind of keeps you filled in on with what's going on during regular, normal months, but I thought I'd give you a little update on the Valley of Lights this time, since that's one of our biggest events for the town of Prescott Valley. And this year, it was no different. It was quite a, let me see if I can get this working, quite a week. Okay, I'll start with the Holiday Festival Lights. We had December 3rd. I understand we have a brief debriefing schedule to talk about it, but it did turn out beautifully. Again, weather held. It was just a lovely evening. At the bottom is the list of the parade entries, the award recipients, but just some photos from it. One of the things we did have this year was some of the schools were not able to participate for one reason or another, so the bands, the choral groups. So we ended up having the Mood Swings did Christmas music, and then the Movement Studio dance groups performed, which when I looked out at the end and we were doing the countdown, I mean, it was just a sea of people. It was really well attended and turned out to be a perfectly beautiful evening. I think I was in a sweater until the very end when I actually had to put on a coat. So, again, a wonderful evening and very successful for this year. And then we went into Valley of Lights. We opened that on Thanksgiving night. So we were open 36 magical nights, as I said, kicking it off with our sneak peek dinner the Sunday prior to Thanksgiving. But the hours are Sunday through Thursday from 6 to 9, and then weekends and holidays from 6 to 10. And then great weather, never lost a night. It was beautiful. A couple of grizzly nights, wonderful volunteers that worked. I want to thank everyone here that worked the booth out there with us. I was out there and saw you, so again, we had a lot of fun. We strolled through Valley of Lights November 30th. 2,977 people walked through there. That is the most we've had since we opened it. The first year was like 2,200, 2,300, but 2,900, and we did count each and every one of those people. Maybe twice, no. We actually were counting from the beginning this year instead of at the end, because we found that people would walk through Valley of Lights, but they'd get down almost to the end and say, well, my car's back that way. I think I'll just go back through Valley of Lights and look at it from the other direction. So turned out, so we were counting from the beginning. Total car count was 18,700 cars, averaged about 519 cars a night. The largest night was 900 on December 4th. The lowest night for cars was November 29th with 250. It's compared to last year, because that's what everybody always asks. Last year was an anomaly because of COVID. There was not really anything else to do. So we actually had last year 74,800 cars with like 13 or 14 nights with over 1,000 cars. Now, I know, Mayor, you were out there. I mean, they're just coming through. Can you imagine, having 1,000 cars? But revenue was down. Per car was down. This year, revenue per car was up. So, again, it balanced real easy, and we're now looking at what we're doing for next year. New displays. New lights were done on the Nativity and the Grinch displays. A lot of those are 22 years old, so therefore they're starting to look a little old and tired, so they're all being replaced with new LED lights. So we did the Nativity, which is one of the most popular displays, and then my favorite is one of them is Grinch. So the Grinch, the tree, and Max got redid too. We had music this time, but we had some problems with the CD player, so it was hit and miss, but I'm working with Sanford next year to make that very consistently and smooth. But we did have 100.3 FM as a designated channel that cars could go to. Again, it was hit and miss, so we really didn't get the signage up in time, and probably well that we didn't on the nights that it didn't work. So, but it will be working next year. Again, we had security cameras. We do this every year. We had music for the stroll, and this year the Bradshaw Mountain High School Marching Bears led off the stroll and then performed for about 15 minutes in the park. So that was a nice piece of it. A few pictures from that night. Again, it's magical. It's so much fun out there. People are having a good time. It's like walking Main Street in Disneyland. Hot chocolate was provided by Kevin, Ray, and Franny, so free hot chocolate to everyone. And I got a lot of these pictures from Facebook. A lot of people were posting and saying they had a good time. So those are all people that were enjoying the day. And great Santa out there. Had a lot of people visiting with Santa, and he was quite the hit. Plans for 2022, new display. I'm working on that one, coming up with something animated. And then again, we'll be refurbishing several other displays. You'll have signage to promote the music, and it'll be opening on Thursday, November 24th. We pick up a day. So with the way the Thanksgiving falls next year, we'll pick up an extra day. The stroll will be November the 29th, and again, we always close on December 30th. A couple of things that we did do this year. On the back of the flyer, we had a QR code and said, please take the survey, and we had a few questions. And we received 40 responses, which out of how many cars? 18,000 cars was not a whole lot. But it is reflective of what I think is what is normal for what happens there. But first time, 35% it was their first time, followed up by 27% said they've been there 10 times or more, so a lot of the regulars. We asked, did you stay in a hotel while in Prescott Valley? And only one did, 1 out of 40. But we asked, did you eat at a restaurant while in Prescott Valley? And 23 said they did, so 57%. And the major zip code coming was from Prescott Valley, but we had answers from Minnesota, Illinois, Arkansas, Texas, Idaho, Glendale, Peoria, Flagstaff, Mexico, Southern California, Hawaii, and Oregon.
Wow.
So those were the zip codes that responded.
Awesome.
And would you recommend Valley of Lights to friends and family? 100% said yes. So we were pleased with the answers that we received. I think that surveys tend to be, you get a percentage of them, but you can see a trend. So we're going to do this every year, and hopefully it'll come. We tried to tell them when I worked it that night. I'd say, there's a survey in the back, please answer it. But half the time, they're moving so fast, it's hard to communicate with the drivers because some of those nights are so busy. So, but we will continue that and hopefully have some more responses, but I was happy with 40. 40 people looked at the back and actually took the survey. So let's see. 2022, again, I have new staff. Katie's now been with me since September. Kim's been with me since July. So picking up on all the events. This month is busy with quarterly breakfast. Our business academy starts. We are hosting Coffee with a Cop on the 26th. So quite a few things going on there. And then the events dates that'll be coming up. And we're working on scheduling and planning the logistics for all of those. It's the first time for Kim, so everything's baby steps all the way. We have a lot of meetings scheduled now to start working on a lot of those plans. And that is it for my report, unless you have any questions.
Awesome, ma'am. Thank you very much.
I say
appreciate you.
Full steam ahead. Thank you very much.
Hey, Marnie,
Yes.
you finally got security cameras in there.
Yes, we do.
We were the first people robbed, so
At least we'll know who it is.
we were there a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, I know. I think that's been about 10 years ago. And
Yeah,
that's
it's
always
been a
been in the back of my mind, and I don't sleep until Valley of Lights closes every single night because of that, Don. I know.
Awesome. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Cutter, you're up.
Me and Larry Rinkin. Me and Larry Rinkin.
Sticks with you forever.
Tell me about it. Nice picture, Cutter.
Cutter broke it. He broke it. Hit him.
At least it's a cool picture.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me again tonight. First, I wanted to start off, let's see if this works, with our labor force. First of all, the new minimum wage for Arizona went from $12.15 an hour and is now $12.80 per hour. The Governor Doug Ducey announced that Arizona has gained back the total number of jobs lost during the pandemic, and the current unemployment rate for the state is 4.7%, tied with the lowest since 2008. For our MSA or county, the current unemployment rate is 2.6%, which is the lowest in the state. And with the number of employed Yavapai County residents is 68,000. For PV, the current unemployment rate is 2.4%. So we're doing very good in that realm. And currently our civilian labor force for Prescott Valley is 23,759. Those are able-bodied working people. Here is your TPT, tax privilege, tax from hotel, retail, and restaurant. The town receives from month to month. Our numbers have grown from 2020 and are staying relatively steady. You can kind of see, I think it dropped down a little in February and March. It kind of bounced back, and it's been staying pretty good. The TPT retail is up 10% from last year. And right here, you'll see, basically this is in your monthly report, but retail's up, over 10%, restaurant 17%, hotel 4%. So everything is on the positive side. And I'm finally done. You probably have right in front of you my economic development booklet. I did print them so, people, developers, prospects to the area can have something to actually flip through, look at. It's got all our demographics, PV information, the whole nine. Gilbert had a great idea to put a QR code on the very back. If you check it out, you can scan that, and it is a digital PDF that pulls up on your phone, and you can share that however. So it's been pretty helpful, and I've given this to even the commercial real estate folks in town here and the developers too. So yeah, very exciting. We'll start building on this, and I didn't go crazy. Don't worry, I didn't print like 1,000 or anything like that, but we will be able to make edits as they come. I didn't tried my hardest not to put any dates. It's got, the 2020 information, 2021 information, stuff like that we will need to update, the next coming year. But I left it pretty simple for that purpose, so we can edit, make changes very easily. So I also have our available properties tab that I've got, spoken with you guys about before. It is live. I think I will go off of here and show you. So this is the actual site. It is live. It's on the website. And I'll just kind of go through and let you kind of see how it's working and get your feedback. So if you click like Site 1 and you are interested in the Site 1, on the map it'll zoom down to the site. It'll highlight it. It'll start blinking so you know exactly where parcel you're looking at. If you click for more information, it'll have, the parcel number there and my graphic that I did showing the available site. And so you can pretty much go back to your listing. You can even use the map. The map's fully functional. You can zoom out, zoom in. You can change it to where it's not the satellite image, but just the roads and things like that. It's pretty interesting. It's very helpful. And for sites that we really want to put a main focus on, this I think will be great. We can direct our traffic to this site and tell them to go look there. We're basically going to build this up. This is done in-house, so we're going to have to go out, get drone shots like we were of certain parcels, and put it on the site. So as you see, you just click another site, and it'll take you to the corresponding one. And there you go. So yeah, basically it's very, very easy to navigate. We just got it up and running, just working out a few little kinks that we had, but other than that, I think it's awesome. GIS, Mr. Larry Princess helped me out very much with this, pretty much built the whole site himself. All I did was edit the pictures and give him the information. So we are very happy with the site and the way it's turned out. Just got to build on it from here. So,
Cutter, will you be able to have, for when people break ground on future projects, would we be able to have the same concept? Because we often get questions, hey, what's going on the corner of this? Would they be able to still be able to, would that be something that would be
it would be a different site. This is really just for the, the bare parcels that are available.
Right.
But what we can do is on the website, yeah, we could start putting all that information rather down.
It would be exactly like this concept, but just
Yep.
on the website. That would be
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah, we could do that.
But you're going to add that specifically to our monthly report.
What you just mentioned?
Yeah, the permits pulled, so we know what big things are going in what area.
So I believe on your brand new one, there is a section on there. I believe it's in the back. We just added it. It shows the actual business licenses that have been submitted. Did you find it on there? I forget what page it is. I think it's like 13 or 14 on there.
Oh, okay, I see it.
Page 8 says new businesses. Is that what you're speaking of?
Maybe.
Like restaurant without a liquor? Like this? Okay.
Yeah, so that's where we'll mention that. If you want, we can do that. We can add a map on your monthly report that shows the groundbreaking ceremonies, things like that. There is the actual capital improvement projects on there too, which shows the map. Various projects around town. But if you want something specific to businesses, absolutely. It is like a working document, like Gilbert said before. We can make edits all day long on this. If there is something in the report that you would like to see or you would like to have taken out, we can totally do that. So
It would just be good to be able to direct people, hey, go check it out on the website. They can go
see
there
where all that is. Yep.
poke around and do what they do.
Yeah, we'll definitely work on something like that and get it on our website. Yeah.
So, Cutter, if I click on one of these, does it bring me up what the zoning is, what the size of the parcel is?
So we're basically working on the click, where it says click for more info. We can add whatever we want on there. So we can go kind of crazy with it. But yeah, as of right now, I think it'll tell you. Yeah, so it shows the zoning, it shows the acreage, square footage, no current address. Usually the ones that, aren't developed or anything don't have them, and then the parcel numbers. So, yeah, and then even the pictures, we can go crazy with the different amount of pictures. I know we did have Sam's Club on the site. We took it down already, but it was on there. We had about 4 or 5 different pictures to get different angles of the building, show the bay area, the whole nine. So, yeah, we can get really crazy with this, and it's really just we needed to get it online so that we could see how it functioned, how it was going to lay out in the PVAZ.net site, and I think it's working pretty good. Like I said, Larry has had to work out a couple different kinks, but nothing major. So I think that's all I have for my slideshow. Just to give you an update with attraction efforts, Gilbert and myself met with Mr. Walter Crutchfield. He works at Vintage Partners. He's a big-time developer, too, and showed him around town, looking for potential business to come, something new, something exciting to PV. Working closely with the Fane Signature Group on multiple projects. They're looking at really big projects that are hopefully coming to town. They're trying to kind of sell them. That's part of what I do with the booklet and any information. Ron had reached out to me asking for specific kind of economic attraction information to give to him, and he just forwarded my email on. So we're working really closely, and things have been really good on that front. Business-wise, the Tropical Smoothie Cafe just recently opened. You guys already know about the Best Western and the Church's Chicken, Highway 69 in Navajo. Maverick's new location, it looks pretty good. It's getting there, but they are still waiting on a couple things from ADOT. Crumble Cookies is going in the Crossroads Marketplace next to Verizon. Our most probably exciting news is that Cow Ranch did close on the Sam's Club building. And I've been seeing people over there every single day inside there, so I don't think they're wasting any time. So very exciting news on there. And then the Roberts Market, I think they're calling it Roberts Market 2, they had a soft opening, so it's technically open. You can go in. They haven't had a grand opening yet because they're still filling up the shelves with product and different things like that. And the A&W restaurant is supposed to open up Monday. So that's very exciting. And then they've got a couple of tenants that they are working with to go in there. Bosa Donuts is one.
Yep.
And Lindo Mexican restaurant. And then in other news, Amazon will be hosting on-site interviews for the next few months. And Cow Ranch has positions available also. You can see those online. The mayor shared that. Same thing with Amazon. If you go to Amazon, I think .jobs, they've got the Prescott Valley jobs on there already. So spread the news and get people working. So if you guys have any questions for me.
I just want to go back to the website real quick. I had a similar question to Lori. As far as adding information, it might be the easiest to just put a link to the traditional GIS website, and then you can see title information, when the property was last sold, things like that.
Yeah, I'll ask Larry about it. I don't know if there was a specific way he did it this way to engage with the public or not. I know our...
Definitely more user-friendly and easier to look at than the other one, for sure. But... from a real estate perspective or something, you got to have all that other information too.
Yeah.
So it would otherwise it would just be have a second window open and bring it up on there.
And what we were thinking about doing too, because there's really no landing page from this, like you kind of said. There's nowhere to go. You'd basically just go back to the website and look for my information on there or something like that. What we would like to do is to put whoever the property owner is their contact information and a link straight to them. So if it is something like right here, I believe this is Ben Snyder's parcel here, it would just go directly to him, even like an email or something, so they would be able to just kind of correspond with them. So great idea, though. But yeah, I will work with Larry, and we'll see what else we can add on there. So,
awesome. Thanks, Cutter.
Thank you.
Moving on, item B, microtransit. Mr. Pedro Rodriguez.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. My name is Pedro Rodriguez, and I'm going to give you a microtransit update today. There we go. Okay, so it works. So starting off, I know that we had talked about a direct recipient status, so we received a letter from ADOT. Hopefully you saw it in your packet information, but that we are considered a 5307 direct recipient. I've already been working with the FTA, with the federal government on it, so it's more of a formality, but it's kind of nice just to have that. Second of all, I'll go through a public transit survey that we conducted, a transit system name and branding, our microtransit services RFP, our vehicle purchases, and an updated implementation timeline. So let's go ahead and start there. So we conducted a public transit survey here in November 2021. And I just wanted to bring your attention to a couple. So we had a list of questions that we asked the public, and we did that via Facebook, SurveyMonkey, some other outlets of the town. And I just wanted to bring your attention to a couple of answers of the survey questions that we conducted. So we received about 250 responses. We just had the survey open in November. And just a little over that. And I really wanted to bring this to your attention just for you to notice the frequented destinations. So it seems, so hopefully this can draw a picture for you. So we can see here in Prescott Valley there's definitely a concentration of trips here in One Civic Center for the library, the entertainment district, Walmart, Kohl's, Fry's. And then we also have a big requests for downtown and Embry-Riddle. From the survey, it seems like we were heavy on the maybe student surveys, which was very interesting. You can kind of think or make your analysis that they are the most engaged demographics. They're the ones that kind of are choice writers that we also need to pay attention to. Yeah, I'll just go moving forward. So the other piece of that transit survey was that we seeked the input from the public. We wanted to get some ideas as to what we should call our transit system. And so we created some characteristics to kind of guide this decision-making process. And we also created a kind of a small focus group with our internal departments to look over the input from the public. And so these were some of the criteria that we looked at. Making sure that it's popular, that it's attractive, that there's some sort of cultural relevance, future relevance, that it will stand the test of time, potential regional applicability, and that it does not just apply to microtransit only. So microtransit is one of the legs of public transit that we're providing. So the responses that we received about 40. A long list of 40 really good ones that met that criteria, and through the focus group we narrowed it down to these final 3, one of them being Yaveline, also kind of its short acronym known as a YAV, the Town Link, and then Glasford Regional Transit was the third. So kind of the great, and then the Town Link would be kind of the link. A lot of transit systems throughout the country have abbreviations. They call it the BART, or as you may have heard, or there's a variety of names that are not coming to my mind. But we also conducted a very long list of long research of other transit systems and what they have been doing and what's worked. So hopefully we push a final survey out to the public here and hopefully close by the end of January, and hopefully have the branding and logo completed here in February 2022. And I wanted to bring on our community relations department. They have done a wonderful job with the branding and logo styles, and with the survey and everything like that. They've done a big piece. So I wanted them to explain to you the logos and branding.
Welcome, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. I'm LaToya. You know that, though. Community Relations Assistant. So Pedro was kind enough to ask me to work on this with him. It really was a collaborative effort, though, with Pedro and myself. We had so many brainstorm sessions that just developed out of nowhere between emails and phone calls, and then just running into each other in the hallway. So it usually happened where I had a little inkling of an idea, and then Pedro get really excited about it, and then add something to it, and then I would run with it, and it was fun, and I was really excited to work on this with him because I know nothing about microtransit. So I learned a lot, though. So I'm going to go over we have 3 drafts for the one representing each of the final names. And they're early stage drafts, but this is kind of the direction that we kind of want to go with some of these names. And let me figure out. I did it. Okay. So this is for the Yaveline, or the YAV, as we'd like to call it. We're hoping that name catches on with writers. We'll see. The inspiration for this logo came from the classic New York City MTA subway system letters. So, that inspiration, or no, you will see those letters represented on the subway stations. They're primary colors. They represent the different routes and lines in the subway stations. Anyway, we went for a blue color scheme for this one. with the Y and V colors reflecting close to the color of turquoise, but not exactly. And we also represented copper in the bottom line where it reads Regional Transit District, because that's we have very large presence of copper in the area. What we liked about this logo was that it really emphasized the nickname of the service, the YAV. So, like, let's take the YAV to the movies. Okay, next. Oh, I'm out of order. Okay, for Town Link, we kept the color palette to reflect the sunset, sunrises that you see here in Arizona in the Southwest, but, you know, we love a sunset here. The N at the end of town and the L at the start of Link are linked together, such as the name implies. We have the O, which represents a map pin, which you would see on, you know, Google Maps or MapQuest, if that's even still around. The map pin signifies technology and the future of transportation. And let's see. Oh, the imagery in the map is the silhouette of Glasford Hill. And then the dot on the I represents the sun. I think it looks a little bit like Tatooine from Star Wars, and I'm not mad about it. Anyway, we wanted to use unique colors while keeping it familiar with the sunset, sunrise. All right. And lastly, this is for Glasford Regional Transit, or GRT, or GREAT, if you kind of go there. We thought that was fun. This logo shows a silhouette of Glasford Hill in this charcoal gray, and then the orange sunset is above it, which, you know, again, sunsets. The arrow on the T stands for going somewhere, which is what transit does. It helps you go. The arrow also represents looking forward, which is something Prescott Valley is constantly doing. And we really like the simplicity of this logo. It almost has an outdoorsy vibe, and we kind of liked that. And Glasford Hill is such a landmark to people in the area. It's such like a center, you know where you are. So highlighting it in this logo, especially since it's called Glasford Regional Transit, we thought it was a nice subtle way to do that. So all these logos, you know, they have the same font, really simple, so it can look good on the side of a bus. It can look good in a brochure. It's not busy. It's not hard to read. And it's pretty clear. So it'll look good, like I said, everywhere. Once the official name is chosen, we will work together to figure out those details for the final logo just to make it really shine. We'll work on exact colors, exact font, just everything. We'll really just hammer down those details, and it's just going to look really good, and then create a whole brand that people will recognize in town. So this project has been fun, and I thank Pedro for letting me shine creatively. I had many doubts about so many of our early designs, but with his suggestions, we came up with these strong looks. So this process has me really looking forward to the future of public transit in Prescott Valley. So thank you, and I'll give it back to Pedro.
Latoya, real quick.
You have anything to say?
Have these three been presented on a vote basis for the community? Or
No.
It was just, this is what you narrowed down, and
This
now?
is the three that we all picked the three final names, and then I worked with Pedro to create kind of a look for each of those final names, and then we will present those final names, right, in a survey, I believe.
So go back out with those three narrowed down, saying, hey, what do you think?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so the three names that we picked, we narrowed it down with our focus group.
Sure.
And then these three styles, we can definitely receive input from the town council if there's some changes that you'd like to see. They're not set in stone, but they are some possibilities.
Gotcha.
You guys did a great job. Latoya, you did a great job. And the way you told us why you did it was great. And in your PowerPoint, you have future relevance, stand the test of time, what happens when hopefully we have Chino Valley and Dewey and Prescott in. So that Town Link one, even though April loves that one, that could be the only one that I see maybe would be one that might not be the whole area. But otherwise, I think, like you said, the Glasford one is great. I love the silhouette. And then on the first one, I think I'd remove the second A. So it's just Yavlink.
Yeah, Yavline.
Yavline, and then it goes with your acronym Yav. I don't know.
Yeah, it was kind of Yavapai and bus line together. So Yava.
Great job.
No, community relations did a wonderful job. They worked really hard on the logo and the branding. I really appreciate them and their work, and they will continue to work with us for a marketing campaign. So one of the key things that we're working on is, or at least to make this successful, is a good marketing campaign, and they're going to be, I think, essential or a key piece in that marketing campaign. So I appreciate them. So next off is our microtransit services RFP. So with this RFP, we had the ability, we combined basically software and operations, these two pieces into one, and we are currently in the evaluation period for the software piece, and we are still in the process to obtain a system operator. So we may have to push our implementation date a little bit further. We are working hard to get a contractor for that. I think we'll be successful after we just completed a non-respondent survey of all the potential contractors for the operating piece, and we've gotten some feedback, and we're going to work with that feedback and see how we can get that done. And so I'll be back in February for the town council meeting to award the microtransit software piece. And then here we have the microtransit vehicle purchases. So as mentioned to you before, we're utilizing ADOT's cooperative contract for these vehicles. We're going to receive these vehicles here in February. And so as part of that logo and branding design work, we're going to incorporate that branding onto these vehicles. And so, again, this is a blank vehicle. It'll have a nice wrap with, we want them to stand out. We want them to, be an attraction, per se. And some of the things that are not included on here are the destination sign and bike rack. So we definitely have those that will be going on. And then lastly, we have the implementation timeline. So again, this has been updated. We're currently right there where the first box is, the green star. Next off, we'll have the approval from town council to move forward with these contractors. And then spring to summer, we're looking to onboard those new contractors and get them started on the work. So again, we're pushing that off. Initially, we had talked about June. I'm making it summer, potentially July, August for implementation. Any questions?
Pedro, nice job. Any questions for Pedro? Thank you, sir, for this. Moving on, item C, rebranding a Newtown logo, mock-ups. Heidi.
So good evening, Mayor, Council, Vice Mayor. Tonight we're really proud to bring you our first mock-ups of our Newtown logo and actually some updates. And so I kind of laughed when I thought about this because I was around at the newspaper when we did the current logo. And we have in our office, I don't know where it came from, I think LaToya came up with it, a box of the original newspaper articles and mock-ups where people actually cut it out of the newspaper and hand wrote their changes that they wanted and then mailed them back to us. And letters and all kinds of great stuff. We've been through quite a process with a core group and a community group on choosing these new logos. And we've had the privilege of working with Nicole Rodriguez, with John Delano. She has been incredible to work with. And so I'm just going to introduce her to you tonight and let her tell you about it. I think you'll be excited to see what we have.
Heidi, real quick, when was
Yes.
that? What was the date on that?
The first logo, I don't know, 95-ish?
95-ish? Wow.
Yeah. Yep. So it was kind of funny. If anybody wants to see that box of stuff, it's pretty great. It has all kinds of old letters and, like I said, people's handwritten suggestions for changes and such. So it was a lot of fun. So, Nicole?
Did everybody get any copies of any logo drafts regarding the town yet? Yep.
You did?
So you're just going to have to describe it verbally to us.
They're
That's the way it's
beautiful.
going to be. I mean,
I'm going to tell you
sorry.
guys they're beautiful. All right. Well, I can tell you about me. My company's small. I have 5 creatives, and I've been doing this for a long time. I'm a public sector marketing expert. So I come from the side of helping government agencies, school districts, police and fire all find their branding strength. So that's why I was chosen as the best fit for you guys, to bring our creative strengths together and give you guys some logo mock-ups. There was a lot of survey and research, just like these guys did, with the community. We actually had a 5% response rate on our survey of over 8,000 folks. So it was pretty awesome to get 400 responses on that. That really gave a lot of feedback. We left open text fields for them to go at it with their thoughts and feelings about the current logo and about the town itself. So it's really interesting to see. We made word bubbles for you guys so that you can see what the strength is in each one of those. But I have it on my laptop if it is a way to hook up.
Casey, I just emailed it to you. Does that help? Can you pull up your email?
Oh, that's actually, this is something else.
Oh.
This is the one. It's not, because I think it's because you designed it.
Grab it from me and Am I the last line item?
No, you got one more. Would that be easier for you?
Yeah.
Fatima, you want to step up and we'll jump to you?
Let me jump in then and just get started on this more boring subject than logos and fun things like that. This is town code revisions.
But I wanted to introduce the item, Ivan.
But let me just give it the history, just so you know. We've been doing business licensing for a long time, and in 2019, the state started changing the statutes. And one of the things they did was they said you can't have business licensing anymore for anybody who basically is doing business in Arizona and paying taxes, but they're outside the state. And we had always applied our business license to businesses doing business in Prescott Valley, even if they were located outside the state. So that became something we couldn't do. Then the league came to us and said, we'd like you to not apply your business license even to anybody outside your town limits. That was a huge change. And so for quite a while, we considered not having a business license at all. That was just too different. And we saw all kinds of challenges dealing with that. So we've spent the last 2 years basically trying to come up with ways to balance a possible business license. We had issues come up about the mobile food vendors and some statutory changes there that we tried and we weren't sure we liked. You passed something, and as we implemented it, it seemed to conflict with some of the things we already had in business licensing. And then there were a lot of things the clerk's office said, we'd like to start looking at some changes, maybe dealing with peddlers and special events. And so it just ballooned into a big process. There you go.
All right, so I don't have a PowerPoint for you because Carol was supposed to join us, but the internet connection wasn't really good. So that was just going to cause a distraction. But anyways, with this business license chapter that we're proposing, it's addressing 3 articles in it. Like Ivan mentioned, we're talking about peddlers, we're talking about business licenses, and we're also talking about mobile food vendors. So we lived happily before until House Bill 2757 back in 2019 said that we're prohibited citizen towns from requiring a business license from out-of-state vendors because they were already paying their taxes under state law. When you apply for a business license, of course, the intent is to obtain TPT, your TPT number, to keep track of revenue. When the league at the same time reviewed this change, they recommended to actually stop requiring local business licenses for anyone that did not have a physical location within our town limits. Now, our town code currently says that everyone that conducts or transacts business within the town requires a business license, regardless if they're inside, regardless if they're outside or out of the state. We right now require a business license out of everybody. This is also a bit problematic when it comes to making purchases. When we have departments that want to purchase a one-time thing, material or software or anything, we do still require the vendor to submit a business license application. So we're acquiring their business, requiring them to make to apply for a business license, but then in the end, we got to pay them back. You know what I mean? So with the recommendation of the House bill, we are proposing that, and also after reviewing what every other municipality in the state was doing, we came to the conclusion that we should stop requiring business licenses from everyone and just focus on actual businesses physically located inside our town limits. So the only licenses that we'll be issuing right now would be from anyone or any business that has a physical location within our town limits, only within our jurisdiction. That could be home occupancies or commercial occupancies, to avoid that problem of requiring licenses from out-of-state or out-of-town limits businesses. So that's one problem solved regarding business licenses, and that would be Article 802. So now, Article 808, let's talk about mobile food vendors. That was another House bill that changed everything. So with House bill, you recall back in February of last year, we came up with this article to actually regulate food trucks and licensed food trucks. The issue at the time was that we didn't have any regulation for mobile food vendors. If you recall my presentation, we used to license mobile food vendors per location. So if a mobile food vendor wanted to park at Fry's and another one at the same vendor wanted to park at Walmart, they would have to obtain a business license for 2 different locations, which that's not mobile. So with House Bill 2371, that kind of solved that problem and gave them the freedom to be mobile in nature. However, after reviewing the requirements, it all came down to the mandates on fingerprinting and background checks. So the state says that we can't issue a business license for food trucks unless we do fingerprints and background checks for all the applicants. Well, okay, fine. But if we do fingerprints and background checks for that kind of business, then guess what? We have to do it for every type of business, for everyone. So do we want fingerprints or do we not want fingerprints? Our suggestion was, let's not fingerprint anyone. Therefore, our recommendation is to repeal the mobile food vendor ordinance, so that way we don't have to mandate fingerprint requirements in every single business. Okay, so that solves problem number 2. And then looking into the fingerprint mandates under the peddler section, there was also, under the peddlers, it was mentioned that anytime a peddler would apply for a business license, the fingerprint would come in on a needed basis or as deemed necessary. But how would we know when fingerprints is needed or not needed? So to clear up that language, we're sticking to not fingerprinting anyone, because if we do it for one business, we have to do it for everyone to keep everything consistent so that we're not picking and choosing. And we're recommending not to do a hard fingerprint or background checks on peddlers. However, we're still going to do a soft background check on them. And we also have regulations or guidelines on when we can deny a peddler's license. So that solves Article 801, and that's what we're doing right now with this proposal. Do you have any questions? Was it confusing?
Fatima, real quick. So on Saturdays or Sundays when there's the farmer's market, does each one of those vendors get a business license? And the same for Peddler's Pass. Does each one of those people have a business license?
No. Farmers market are exempt because they're growing on their own produce. So
okay.
they are exempt.
So what about Peddler's Pass?
They have a special location, and there's a special agreement with Peddler's Pass, so that the owners of Peddler Pass is the only one required for the license, not all the vendors attending.
Excellent.
Location.
And that's covered in a separate section, not just Article 802.
Gotcha. I noticed that some of these ordinances were enacted in 1979 and re-looked at in 85 and 86, so I think it's by far time we reevaluate the whole system when it comes to that. So, Councilwoman?
What about like home-based businesses like Mary Kay Cosmetics and the smaller type companies that they work from home? Are they required to have business licenses? Because they are within the town limits if they're working from their home, which is based in the town.
But, yeah, Ivan can
If they
explain.
qualify as a home occupation, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if I followed you correctly, no peddler's license whatsoever now?
We will have peddler's licenses, yes.
Okay.
We will not be fingerprinting anyone.
Okay, good. And yes, a license for food trucks or no?
No license for food trucks.
Nothing.
We're repealing the ordinance.
Okay. And then what about these
Just a caveat to that is that we will be bringing another ordinance to you with some zoning changes that are proposed to deal with some of the aspects of mobile food vendors.
But it won't be a license.
But it won't be a license.
Okay. And then what about these flags that pop up that we've been having problems with? That
Like a flag vendor.
Yeah.
One that may perhaps in the past been on Highway 89A.
Yeah.
Or just pop up at the event center, things like that. Or
in Glasford where it's not safe to get off the road?
And part of the regulation that will be included in the zoning chapter should specify that mobile food vending, it needs to have some sort of food content in order to be a mobile food vending business. So if they're just selling flags, that's not a mobile food vendor or a mobile.
And in terms of getting a business license, they won't have a location. So they won't be getting a business license now. If they're there all the time, they're renting from another business and they're there with the appropriate zoning, yes, they will be getting a business license. But they usually just show up and we're generally chasing them off because they don't, they're violating the zoning code. So it'll depend.
So sometimes, Ivan, you'll see people sell meat meat product or seafood in a refrigerated truck, would they be registering with the town and getting some sort of license?
Vendor?
As a vendor.
Food vendor?
Yes.
That, I think, again, we aren't going to regulate food vendors. So if they're on the right-of-way, they're going to have to comply with our zoning code.
This is more raw meats, where they show up and you can buy 10 T-bones for $10 or something like that.
Right. It'll probably be covered in the zoning code that we'll bring forward.
Okay.
Sorry, so that means things like that, or some guy sometimes down on 69 and 169 opens the back of his pickup truck and sells oranges.
Right.
He's not going to be able to do that with anything we're doing here.
We're not making it possible for him to do it.
Good.
It'll still be issues that we'll have to deal with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else for Fatima? Thank you, ma'am. All right, we back in the game?
Getting to these, and before I show you the logos, I'll show you the answers.
Can you use the mic?
Hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. A lot was done before completing this survey and proposing logo designs because, like the book, Simon Sinek, Start With Why, everybody had to have a really good reason because healthy food and going to bed early is really good for you even though you don't like it. And sometimes your logo and branding and marketing is effective even though you don't like it, even though you've got sick of it or it's old. And it's up to a marketing agency to find out where what you're doing is effective and where you can grow or change to better serve your community and reach your goals. So because people didn't like it is not the reason that this occurred. It's because it was truly identified that it's ineffective to meet your goals, to represent your community and move forward with an investment in this logo in the future. So we did an executive summary that we could release to the community on why this is occurring so that everybody knows it's 20 years old and that even if you loved it, we can do better. And there was pre-planned research where we put your website against area competitor websites to see where your community really felt that your strengths were. And if they didn't go to your website, where they ended up afterwards, if they visited the Town of Prescott website for something they had visited your site first. We actually mapped that out so that you could see where interest-wise in the community you were either strong or losing people to surrounding areas. And that gave really good insight into how people perceive this community and what they most valued about it. Then we did a brand perception survey with a community voice group, it was called, that had some business leaders. It had a council member, it had the communications department and administrators from the town. And they all gave strategy session feedback on how they felt the logo currently served your goals and what more it could provide in visuals. What the community felt emotions-wise about what some of the images might mean to them, whether something like an antelope that is sometimes controversial would be accepted widely, even though that's something that everyone loves. And then some of the assumptions that we made about really iconic things weren't even mentioned in 400 responses in the survey. Things like javelina or prickly pear that we felt were visuals that would be mentioned. They just weren't. The antelope and the suns and mountains were huge. So we put together a competitor analysis that would show in the area, really, if there were major corporations that were gaining interest through the economic development efforts, how they would perceive you guys in comparison to other area towns like Flagstaff or Sedona. And we looked at their logos as well as 3 towns that economic development had identified as kind of sister city inspirations, and we looked at their logos too. And it was really awesome to love ours above all of them, which was great. Even more than Seattle, Portland, even some of the bigger cities that we thought would definitely have their stuff together, as far as brand strength, and they just did not. So we talked about the assets and the audiences that you guys have, where this logo will go, potential costs, and how long it'll take, and who is responsible in communications for implementing the tasks like ordering the decals that go on the trucks and things like that. Those are all tactical things that are in your marketing plan. The logo was delivered with a marketing plan for this reason, so that you weren't just given a drop box with logos and told, have fun. We've thought of everything from the water tanks down to your email signatures. social media, your website, everything, embroidery, screen printing, silk screening, anything like that. So then we did some proposed design directions, which we're going to tell you guys about, and then we'll tell you why the communication strategy is going to reflect some of the answers in this survey. So the number one question is, where do you see the logo? I was honestly surprised. I thought it would be signage more than trucks, but that being number one, we didn't put percentages in here so that you guys didn't, so that you could take it with a grain of salt. Because all of the responses, while some were clearly, 90% or more of what people included, because it had a small inclusion as well, doesn't mean that it shouldn't be, considered. So really everything down from like a few responses to hundreds of responses are illustrated in the word bubbles. And each question is going to give the communications department leadership and guidance on what to prioritize in your budget based on what the community said is the most visible to them. So the council chambers are obviously not what anyone said. This is what you guys know, and if you prioritize this very last, then that's up to you. But if it's something that everyone sees and you feel like the entire town tunes in to this, then make it a priority, because you know how often you expose this space to the public, even though that wasn't, listed in the survey. So while they said trucks, the tanks, the website, all of that, it's truly up to you guys, your budget and your awareness of this, what should be prioritized over the next 6 months. My company is going to help the communications department because this is a lot in implementation, right? All of the graphics, social media, the website. I am personally my company's developer, so I can hack into your website and do all the fun stuff as far as changing that, so you don't have to activate IT in the middle of Q1 if you're doing other things. So we're going to support you in that. Some of the things that we probably felt would be a positive variation to the logo, it sounded like the community wanted those things to stay, like the sun, because over 90% of the responses included that was something that they perceived as of value to the community. What do you think about as a positive image? And you can't deny that. It would be a disservice, I feel like, to the community to completely remove it. But there are some variations that have sun-ish, sun rays, that you can. So third question, what positive images? Mountains was number one. The town itself, thinking about the town, the friendly people, Glasford Hill, that it was family friendly, all of these things are going to give you some leadership and guidance in how to approach the decision that you made and telling the community about it. Because like I said, you guys can't just tell people it's time for a change because we decided. So you want to give them some feedback on why you're doing this for them, essentially, to strengthen the community. Where you guys see it on your water bills, on your finance documents, people said we're number one. So there's going to be a lot of internal implementation, too, of turning around your letterhead packages to ensure that everything over February, March, and April is cohesive. Then huge, obviously, on like Fane, and some restaurants were included in some of the places specifically that people go and love about the community. So when we suggested in the marketing plan for one of the outreach initiatives to be a pen cup at all of the major businesses that are a part of the chamber, we didn't want to leave anybody out just in case they weren't a chamber member just yet. So the survey did illustrate some great businesses, grocery stores, stuff like that you'd want to include. Number one was shopping. I don't know if that surprises you guys that people are coming in and saying that they're coming shopping here. I thought it would be for the necessities of life, coming to school, coming to the hospital, things like that. But it seems like the surrounding community is finding you guys as a great place to come shop. Families, the seasons, Glasford again. Were you going to say something?
I'm just saying yay.
Oh, yay. I know. I love it. So next one. We actually left these text fields open so that just yes or no answers aren't leaving out feedback. That's important. On the residential and commercial development side, I'm sure that having some more presence in your park signage in the two major communities that were listed, included here, the Coyote, Quailwood, would be smart if you don't already have town signage there or leading into it. And then lots of people said they live here or they work here. Actually, 80% overlived here, but then 50% didn't work here. So those are likely the ones coming in for shopping and all that. So what are your favorite things to do in Prescott? Restaurants. or Prescott Valley. Events, shopping, parks, activities outdoor. Like I said, the weight on here should give you guys an idea of the response in the surveys compared to the smaller ones. But again, with 400 folks, we feel like it's almost necessary to include all of the restaurants that you could possibly include in a walk-in scenario with the Penn Cup project, and not just the chamber, because that was such a huge influencing place. What experiences do you associate Prescott Valley with? Recreation and outdoors weren't really mentioned a lot until it was given an option, because these were typed out options. And so to see 65% back on the recreation and outdoors shows me that those individuals aren't articulating well what they love. They put Glasford
If I could
Hill.
just interrupt you for one moment, I just want to point out, if council notices that for brand perception, hotels was 6%, and then travel destination was also 6%. That's extremely low.
Right.
And from what we've discussed in our strategic planning on what we're trying to change and create that destination, it goes to show you that we need a lot of work there to get that number back up. So I'm sorry to interrupt.
I agree. No, of course. This is why we do this, so that you guys have leadership in the, the implementation of the logo, but also the marketing plan entirely moving forward, what's going to be a priority. And changing misconceptions about your community. So, hi, finally, here we are. There's going to be 4 logo options that we review with you guys. And again, it went from strategy sessions, discussing how you guys want to be perceived, the logo brand perception survey results, and then your internal votes from the community voice group. And it actually whittled down from these 4 to 2 options. Option number 1 is what we call the safe zone. It's a very small modification of the current logo. Second one is artistic, and actually was influenced by the artwork outside. This one is actually the artwork outside, number 4. And then number 3, Prescott Valley, was actually influenced by the entry to your town, where you can either go left or right. And that actually was more apparent in the prior versions. These get whittled down as you continue to discuss their impact, as you continue to discuss their effectiveness when they're in reverse, because all of your public departments will have them likely in reverse, like that, white on black. So with all 4 of these logos, you guys are going to take time over the next week to see if any one of these weighs on your heart. If you're just like, wow, Prescott Valley. If you don't, it's okay. You can't offend me. I'm a creative. I have no idea what you're feeling right now. And if you tell me you hate it all, you cannot offend me. I'm motivated to make you happy. So I hope that you all are honest with your feedback. And our communications department is going to ask you guys with this survey, vote on your final 2, right? Once you vote on your final 2, we've kind of already did that internally in the creative group. We've kind of gotten down to this because the survey was so clear. Everybody in the community voice group really had some favorites, and then some modifications were made from there. So right now we kind of feel like this community voice group has presented you with the ones on the right that they feel are the strongest options out of this group, and that represent everything that has come along to date. Not just the beauty of it, the effectiveness of it in reverse, the ease of embroidery, highway distance, all of those things. So what goes with the logo? A tagline. And we talked about the tagline and how that is going to support the logo, and there really hasn't been made a final decision yet or any favorites, because we like them all. The taglines have been the most difficult to choose from. So we want to propose you guys with all of the taglines that have been discussed to date and see if one of them jumps out at you. When we submit you guys realistic mock-ups of the final 2 logos, we want to show you guys what it would be like to truly look embroidered on a shirt, or truly look like what it looks like on your water tank from far away. So that's why we need you to get down to 2, so that we can make those mock-ups for you. And at your next council, we would hope that you would vote. From there, in February, the communications department has everything that they would want to do within the plan to move forward over the next 6 months, logistics-wise, to implement the logo in all of the places that were, in the plan. If it goes beyond that, it'd be pretty awesome. I'd love to see it all over. But there's about maybe 10 to 15 priority categories, essentially, that are included here in the plan. So, you see the schedule there, the tagline. And when we go back to the logos, can I ask you guys now if any of them stand out?
You can ask. I don't know if you're going to get a response.
Totally okay.
But I do have a quick question, though.
Sure.
It seems like all the colors are all consistent with the logos. Is there just, through your experience, a popularity with certain colors, or?
We had anywhere from 2, which we would consider number 1 there, the final 2 colors, up to 4 or 5. They were very multicolored options in the beginning first round. And the feedback there was that it's truly a rainbow palette or something that busy, easily implemented, and it really wasn't. And so it was brought back down to the realistic color palette of your community,
Gotcha.
which is the muted green and gold. And then the skies, the wheat, the dirt. And if it were truly accurate, it would be even more muted. But we're really trying to make them as bright and vibrant as possible.
All right. Well, thank you, ma'am.
So you said it was number 4 that was inspired by artwork?
It was actually number 4, yep.
And that, was it Limitless? That's, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, because I saw that as soon as I opened it, I was like, that's Limitless right there, which I love Limitless, but I understand the wanting to come back down on colors. And then Lori just told me that on number 3, that the V like that, and you said that as well, that the supposed to represent like the highways.
Mm-hmm.
But when I first looked at it, I saw pronghorn.
Same.
That's what I thought too.
And so I like the, how it was. I like the difference in the hills when you revamped it, but then you took away the pronghorn aspect of it. So, but those are just a couple things that stood out to me that I liked.
Good.
The pronghorn change was that with our growth in the area, that could be a sensitive issue.
Remember I said political
Which
issues?
Right, and I know exactly what you're talking about, but because I live a good ways outside of town, I see the pronghorn every single day, and if I don't see them on my way to town, I see them on my way to Chino, because they just move back and forth. So to me, they're always there. It's not like, but yeah, I can see that.
And you want to think about it too, and think about, over the next week where you see the logo most, and imagine this in their place, and then think about which one is truly representative of the community that gives you that feel-good feeling. And it's 100% okay if it's none of them.
One thing I was noticing on the number 4, at least with PV, you have the valley in there so that we're not getting lost with Prescott.
Mm-hmm.
It is Prescott and Valley, so to me it looked like the P and the V together. So I appreciated that one. Yeah,
I love it.
Is there also a logo or a statement that? I'm sorry, I still like what Ryan Judy had with the cooler side of the state or cooler side of Arizona. I didn't know if we actually had a tagline with it as well.
Well,
I like it. Sorry,
I like it too. I do. I just think that is the economic development.
The cooler side of Arizona.
Oh, the cooler side of
Had those little.
He can loan it to the town, if you really love it. It's a good one. It's effective. And the blues help a lot, too. The first rounds didn't have the prominence of the blue, and this helps balance that in this next round.
I like number 1, the original one. The blue kind of reminded me of Fane Park. Mm-hmm. And the gold or copper line that goes through the mountains of Agua Fria. Mm-hmm. But the other one is just simply the mountains and no representation of the water aspect or the...
Right. Mm-hmm. Tough.
So, ma'am, I think our best angle on this is, and everyone's going to have their own opinion, if we could challenge you to perhaps come up with just 2 more in reference to this.
Okay.
Put them together with the communications department, and then get them back to council, and then have us have the opportunity to chew on it for more than just seeing it for the first time for some of us.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we'd be able to come to council with a much more educated vote, if that's at all doable or possible
100%.
in your time frame.
This is your project and your schedule.
And as you mentioned earlier, how the sun resonated with residents. If any of the ones that you currently have, does the sun work into that even more, or not? So, I'll be honest, I am not a visual person when it comes to this. You just say, hey, this is going to be our logo. Let's rock it. I'm good with that if it's good with everyone else. But people do take emotion to this. And when it goes out to the public, we need to make sure we get this right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why that's important.
So Nicole, thank you. I still like the PV part and us being known as PV and digging into that a little bit deeper. I'm still very fond of number 2, and I know that was one of LaToya's favorite, and I would love for her to stand up and say what number 2 is, because when she was looking at it and said it, it was like, yeah, you know, some Native American, you know, anyway. Yeah. The pinpoint, you know, all that stuff like you had in your town link.
Yeah, for number 2, what I really liked is that it had like a Native American inspiration, which is very prominent in the Southwest, especially here with our Yavapai tribe. But that's kind of where I liked it. And I like abstract. I like something that shocks people. So I'm not like, everyone's different. But I was like, let's just shake it up. Let's just throw something out there that really shocks people. But that's what I saw was like the Native American influence. And that's what I really liked.
We also called it the thumbprint.
Yes.
Because it was more linear before this. It had more lines that actually very much looked like a thumbprint and represented the people, as well as still looking PV-ish and, you know, representing the gold and the green in your seasons. So there's a lot to impact in one image. We just want it to feel good and not think too much about what is that. So all of these need to be first impact recognizable to what they're supposed to be. So if you didn't see the artwork in number 4, it would be a failure in our eyes, you know. So, I mean, it's good that that's effective.
And that's 100%, because initially everyone will compare us to what Prescott has. Prescott naturally has thumb view. Everyone knows where thumb viewed is and what that looks like on a piece of paper. So that is definitely one of your challenges, to try to be that fine line between something that's identifiable, where we don't have to be like every single day explaining what it is to people, because that's not effective. So
totally.
If we could work that into whatever you do and then throw that back at us,
totally.
I think you're close, you know.
So challenges here would be implementing what the community sees as far as what you see here, like nature, the animals, something that's recognizable as a P and a V, something that Valley is outstanding more than Prescott, and that draws your eye, and then something that can be iconic standalone, just like the town link. I like that just the little map, the icon itself could be used on things. So something that can also be iconic is the main, you know, driver behind all of these, the technical reasons. So you guys are going to take the next week or 2, like you said, right, and think on these, and it would be awesome if in a week you gave some of those specific feedback, like a vote from one of these 4 and any other feedback that you want to give, so that we can get right back to you with those realistic mock-ups.
And with that being said, I challenge and I hope each council member can at least respond back to Heidi and LaToya with some sort of feedback in regards to what they like, what they don't like, so then I can get over there and allow you to do your job.
Yep, we've got actually a voting email created for you guys. So all you have to do is just click on one. It'll email Heidi. It'll say, this is my choice and this is why, and it gives you a space to type in. So you're good to go.
Perfect.
Okay. You guys have any more questions?
And then go ahead, Heidi.
Well, I was just going to say, it would really also help if we had the suggestions, like April, I believe you liked that number 3, the original one, kind of represented the antelope. And so, you know, if you can give us those comments, that would be great. And so, you know, it's kind of funny because the 2 different eyes, I'm just loving number 3, the new one, because of the simplicity and just that the valley is right out there. So, you know, everybody sees it different. I mean, it's really hard because it is artwork. It's really subjective. So we need all the comments that you guys have, and then we can work into something that will work out. We're not in a hurry.
And as long as we don't get it, I mean, it's Green Bay Packer colors. I don't know if that's very effective or not. But.
You know, what do they play? I don't even know. Is that football?
Yeah. That's a football. Yeah, that's a football. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
It's kind of
I show dogs, you know. That's what I do. So, but anyway, we appreciate you guys taking the time, and please feel free to give us all the comments that you have.
And will we be giving comments in regards to the tagline motto as well, or is that something totally separate?
I'll actually put that in that email for you because it's really important. We want you guys to look at all 10 of them at once. So
Okay.
Whittle them down from there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Is there, when we look at these, can we also suggest different color arrangement rather than, because visually when you look at orange, green sticks out, black sticks out really well, but orange kind of fades, and it's not as it just doesn't have the appearance that when you read it, that it just really pops. And so I was just wondering if a different color, maybe a darker blue in number 1 rather than orange for Prescott, maybe Prescott Valley would be more of a color that would just, like I'm saying, would pop out. Because orange tends to be fading. It fades, especially for those who have difficulty seeing colors.
Well, see, and those are good comments, too, because if you look at the bottom of the page where it says Prescott Valley Rebrand, that's a really strong orange. And what we're trying to capture in the logos is more of the gold, which is the general color of Prescott Valley most of the year, rather than, during the monsoons when it's green. So that's going to be important that people will see that. So.
Right,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So Heidi, real quick, you were saying because of the way Nicole was saying because of the way survey came out, we should look more at 1 and 3. But what if we like 2 and 4 or 4 over here?
Then we want to know that.
Yeah. Okay.
The only reason that we gave those modified options is because our community voices specifically said, that we would love to see it with this or love to see it with that. We felt like that was strong enough and representative of the whole voice to give you guys options that had that. But that's why we keep working through these drafts, is that between all of them in this suite here, it still could be number 2 or 4 that you go with. And so that's when we would make your modifications, your color scheme suggestions, maybe show you in some different colors, and then again, put it in reverse and on a mock-up realistically so that you can see it at dime size and you can see it on a highway sign.
All right. Sounds good. Council, you have your homework.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for all your work on this.
Awesome. I want to really thank Nicole, too, for her work on this. She's been just great helping us, guide us through this process. So.
Awesome. Thank you, ma'am. With that being said, I believe we're done for the evening. Everyone drive safe.
Put that in the car.